And this is the outline. We have five learning objectives. First is describe the nature of perception and its relationship to consumer memory and decision. A second is explain exposure, the type of exposure, and the resulting marketing implication. Third is explain exposure, the types of exposure, and the resulting marketing implication. Fourth is explain interpretation, the factor that affect it, and the resulting marketing implication. And finally, it discusses how perception can enhance strategies for retailing, branding, advertising, and packaging.
The figure shows a helpful information processing model with four major processes or stages: exposure, attention, interpretation, and memory. The first three of these are perceptions. The process of information reception does not occur in a linear flow, rather simultaneously and interactively. A person's memory influences the information they are exposed to, pay attention to, and interpret. At the same time, memory itself is shaped by the information it receives. Both perception and memory are highly selective. Out of the vast amount of available information, individuals can only be exposed to and pay attention to a limited amount. The meaning assigned to a stimulus is must, if not more, a function of individuals than it is of the stimulus itself. Furthermore, much of the interpreted information may not be available in active memory when an individual makes a purchase decision.
And next, we move to the learning objective 2. Explain exposure, the type of exposure, and the resulting marketing implication. Exposure occurs when a stimulus is placed within the person's relevant environment and comes within range of his or her sensory receptor nervous. Exposure provides consumer with the opportunity to pay attention to available information, but in no way guarantees it. And we have two types of exposure. First is selective exposure. The highly selective nature of consumer exposure is a major concern for marketers because failure to get exposure results in lost communication and sales opportunity. And second is voluntary exposure. Auto consumers often avoid commercial and marketing stimuli. Sometimes they actively seek them out for various reasons, including purchase goals, entertainment, and information. As we saw earlier, consumers actively seek out alerts containing items they want to buy, and many viewers look forward to the commercial developed for the Super Bowl. Perhaps more impressive is the positive response customers have to infomercial.
So this is learning object 3, and now we're going to explain the attention. So attention occurs when the stimulus activate one or more sensory receptor nerve, which is the resulting sensation go to the brain for processing, and this process requires consumer to allocate limited mental resource toward the processing of incoming stimuli. So the attention is determined by three factors. The first one is stimulus factor, or physically characteristic of the stimulus itself, include size, intensity, like loudness, brightness, length, attractive visual, contrast and expectation, isolation, format, color, and movement. And the second one is individual factor, or like characteristic which distinguish one individual from another. So the motivation of it is kind of like a drive stage created by consumer interest and need, and the ability of it is kind of like related to knowledge and familiarity with the product or brand, and the brand familiarity is an ability factor related to attention, and it also refers to the capacity of individual to attend to and process information. So the last one is situational factor, and this one is include the stimuli in the environment other than the focal stimulus and temporary characteristic of the individual that are included by the environment. So we're gonna have two elements here. The first one is clutter, which is to represent the density of stimuli in the environment, and the second one is program involvement, is how interested viewers are in the program. Like this element have a positive influence on attention. So the next thing we move on is non-focused attention. It's like a host of stimuli at subconscious level. It helps the brain to evaluate the information to decide what warrants deliberate and conscious attention. So here's a term on non-focused attention called the hemispheric lateralization. It's a term applied to activity that take place on each side of the brain. So the left side of the brain we have verbal information, symbolic representation, sequential analysis, consciousness, and on the right side we have pictorial, geometric, timeless, nonverbal information. Like the right side work with image and impression, and the third one,
So moving to the learning objective 4 is explain the interpretation, the factors that affect it, and the resulting marketing implication. So hi everyone, this is the learning objective 4. We're gonna learn about what is the interpretation means. So first of all, interpretation is the assignments of meaning of sensation. Generally, a relative process rather than absolute, referred to perceptual relativity. Tend to be subjective and open to a host of psychology biases. Cognitive thinking process are an effective emotional process. So there are two types of interpretation, but good marketers can do both. First of all is the cognitive interpretation. It's process whereby stimuli are placed into existing categories of meanings. And next is effective interpretation. It's the emotional or feeling response triggered by stimulus such as an ads. For example, when you see a banner see dogs abuse on a banner, it hurts you and you want to rescue them. So that is what the effective interpretation means. The interpretation is determined by three characteristics. First is individual's characteristic, which is traits. There are two types of traits, is physiological and psychological. Physiological is some people who are sensitive to some kinds of flavors than others. For example, you are more sensitive to a spicy food than other people. And psychological, as just one example, some people experience emotions more strongly than others and have a stronger emotional reaction on advertisement. Next is knowledge. Knowledge is the meaning attached to such natural things as time, space, relationship, and colors are learned and vary widely across culture. And last one is expectation. The expectation, for example, when you have the same products, is orange juice but with different packaging. One is real orange juice from a prestigious brand with beautiful packaging, and one is just a glass of orange juice but look like an orange liquid put in a glass. So customer choose one with the better packaging as they expect that what should look like. So expectation usually based on color, packaging, and something like that. Next is situational characteristic that you can easily read the definition on the slide. So for example, popcorn. We actually don't need popcorn while watching movies. However, the ads suggest that popcorn should be consumed in the movie theater, so then we get used to it and cannot watching the movie without popcorn. So that is what the situational means in marketing. And last one is stimulus characteristic. So you can see the definition of the stimulus on the slide too. So we're gonna move to some specific part. First of all is the traits. Traits is something like size, shapes, color, and affect interpretation. And next is organization. There are three types of organization in the stimulus characteristic. First is the proximity. It refers to the fact that stimuli position close together are perceived as belonging in the same categories. For example, you can see the Bridgestone tires right here, and the slogan "Have a safe winter, try Bridgestone tires." So they didn't mention that you need to try the Bridgestone tires in winter to have a safer winter. However, because of the word safe and the word tires, they are placed close together, right? So consumer can easily imagine that the Bridgestone tires is safe for winter. So next one is closer. You can think that when advertiser use incomplete sentences because closer is often an automatic response engaged in by consumers in order to interpret message meaning. And next is figure ground involves presenting a stimulus in such a way that it is perceived as the focal object to be attended, and all stimuli are perceived as the background. Okay, so the last one is change. In order to interpret stimulus change, consumer must be able to categorize and interpret the new stimulus relative to the old. So the consumer need to detect the change, and but sometimes consumer won't be able to detect the change, and sometimes they can detect the change, but the change they seem like unimportant things. And move to part 4, the consumer inferences. First of all is quality signal. And consumer usually think that you get what you pay for, so it's this one of the famous assumption that consumer believe. So they think that higher price brand have a higher quality than the lower price brand do. Next is interpreting images. The customer inferences from visual images are becoming increasingly important as advertisers increase their use of visual imagery. And last one is missing information and ethical concern. When the data about an attribute are missing, consumers may assign it value based on presumed relationship between that attribute and one for which data are available.
Thank you, Reed, for this presentation, and we now research about the retail strategies. About the, it is common that cross promotion, where complementary products are promoted together, are found to be effective, and the ambient scent, pleasant smells in a retail store can increase product evolution by boosting emotions. For example, the lavender and lemongrass essential oil. About the brand name and logo development, you can see here is 3 examples. For the linguistic consideration, you can see that the pronunciation of K in Coca-Cola. For the branding strategies, Trung Nguyên has expanded their brand around Vietnam, as well as in the worldwide. And for the logo design and typographic, Chanel have designed the logo and the type, the font, to express the luxury. And in marketing strategy, media strategy is plays an important role. Of course, it's very challenging and costly. For high involvement products, advertisements should be placed in relevant content specific outlets, while advertisement for low ones should be placed in reputable media outlets frequented by the target market. And what is the task of advertisement? It captures attention and convey meaning of the brand, but often counterproductive for the other. Besides, it also utilizes stimulus characteristics as well as tie the message to a topic in which the target market is interested. However, using factors unrelated to the product to attract attention must be done with caution. About the package design and labeling, packaging elements and color affect the customer behavior and perceptions. Next is because consumer perceive tall packaging as containing more product, we have to pay attention about wrapping packaging. Last one, it is well known that well designed warnings tend to be more effective. And this is the end of my part. Thanks for listening.
And next, we move to the chapter 9, learning, memory, and product positioning. And this is the outline. We have 5 learning objectives. The first is deploy the nature of learning and memory. The second is learn the types of memory and memory's role in learning. The third is distinguish the different processes underlying high and low involvement learning. Four is summarize the factors affecting information retrieval from memory, and final is understand the application of learning to brain positioning, equity, and leverage. And let's move to the learning objective 1. Describe the nature of learning and memory. Learning is any change in the content of organization of long-term memory of behavior and is the result of information process. And at the figure 9.1 shows that different information processing systems handle learning aspects, including the perceptual system, short-term memory and long-term memory. The processes are closely related, and consumers store favorite brand in long-term memory, while perception is tied to consumer intention, and favorite brand can be updated and stored in long-term memory as a result of comparison.
So in learning object 2, we're gonna study about short and long-term memory. So short-term memory, also called STM, is the portion of total memory that is currently active or in use. They have limited capacity to store information and sensation, and because of the short-lived nature of STM, so consumer must constantly refresh their information through maintenance rehearsal, or there will be loss. And there's the thing called elaborative activity in STM is to serve or they serve to redefine or add new element to the memory and can involve both concept and imaginary. And so about the long-term memory, also called the LTM, is the portion of a total memory devoted to permanent information storage. We have like three of them. The first one is semantic memory, which is the basic knowledge and feeling an individual has about a concept. The second one is episodic memory, which is the memory of a sequence of events in which a person has participated in the past. And the last one is flashbulb memory, which is the acute memory for the circumstances surrounding a surprising and novel event, like when you heard into 11th of September, you will immediately recall to the terrorist attack.
And this is the learning objective 3. First of all, we're gonna learn about a high and a low involvement. So a high involvement is like when you buy a car and you might read many articles or watching many advertisements about the car to get more information. And a low involvement is a consumer whose TV program is interrupted by the advertisement for a product that you don't currently use, so it has a little motivation to learn about the products. And next is conditioning. So it is a process of using an established relationship between one stimulus like music and respond to bring about learning of the same response to different stimulus. For example, marketers usually use like sounds like songs and some bells ring to remind customer of something that can bring them back the emotion and feel familiar. And the next is operant. So the definition is on the slide, so we can go through it. And the difference between operant and classical condition is whether the behavior is involuntary or voluntary. Next is cognitive learning. So there are about 3 types of cognitive learning. First of all, it's iconic rote learning. It's a kind of remembering information. For example, if I give you a phone number, you will try to remember it by repeating it again and again. And it's the same in marketing. When you want your customer to remember your brand, your logo, and your slogan too, so you need to repeat it regularly. And next is vicarious learning or modeling. So like when you see your friend buying a good product, so you will carefully watch her or his reactions before deciding to buy it or not. And the last one is analytical reasoning. So it is one of the most hard part to do when you decided to purchase a product. Like buying cars, you need to carefully check all of the information about gas, the electric, and some of the features about the power.
Thank you for this presentation, and now we will learn about the learning memory in retrieval. As you know, in marketing, forgetting is often referred to as a retrieval failure. They can forget about brands associations, and other information for a variety of reasons, and it is improved that the importance of these elements. Strength of learning. In second language, it separates high involvement learning situations from low ones, and it is very difficult processing an advertisement in second language. If Chinese consumers process an advertisement in German, will it still be as effective as when they process the same ad in Chinese? And for the mood, a positive mood in haste is relational elaboration. about a message involvement. It can be increased by causing the person to become involved with the message itself. For example, when you play a song "Ẩn nút nhớ thả giấc mơ," a famous Omo ad song may cause people to sing along. And there are three roles. The three ones first is saying may be important to memory. For example, why us have started initiative with an NFT, a way of mixing the digital and physical. The second is the role of suspense, and final is self-referencing. About reinforcement, there are two aspects. A positive one, for example, the TH2 milk advertisement, it highlights the parents' supportive and nurturing behavior, and negative reinforcement can make customers who make a purchase during a sale period are negatively reinforced by avoiding the potential regret of paying a higher price. Uh, in contrast, the punishment, for example, a luxury fashion brand publicly expose retailers through press releases. The reputation, advertising well out, for example, the XYZ Electronics decided to add a commercial across multiple channels over an extended period. This led to advertising well out. And their coding, imaginary using word themes across advertisement can outdo coding and enhance memory. Uh, Next is pausing, and it is very beneficial when you know about the golden time frame, which is can make your advertisement be more trendy. Memory interference. There are two elements in this part. Two about the competing advertisement, reduce strengthen initial learning and provide external retrieval cues. Particularly, for example, the slogan "Không còn gầu cần gì phải giấu" of Clear were used to remind consumers about the TV advertisement that emphasize how fresh it feels to have a clear hair. Environment will directly affect to the customer's feelings. A visual image of the package with pleasant music would be most appropriate. And imagine a scenario where customers have experienced the delicious taste and high quality of brand of cookies. Over time, they have developed a positive association and a learned response to the brand. This is the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening.
So last part of the video, Learning Objective 5, understand the application of learning to brand positioning, equity, and leverage. So let's first talk about a brand image. It refers to a schematic memory of a brand, and this contains the target market's interpretations of attributes, benefits, users, marketer characteristic, manufacturer characteristics, or usage situation. So next is brand positioning, a decision made by a marketer to try to achieve a defined brand image relative to competition within a market segment. In this, marketer decide they want members of a segment think and feel in a certain way about the products and the brands relative to another brands, the competing brands. So to do this, we need to create a perceptual mapping that takes consumers' perceptions of how brands and products are similar to each other and relates these perceptions to products. But in the long term, if we want to change our position, we can also do the brand repositioning. The product repositioning refers to a deliberate decision to significantly alter the way the market views. Hyundai is attempting to move from a low-price image to one that is refined and elegant. So here we can see the difference between the two design of the two gears. So about the brand equity is the value consumers assign to a brand above and beyond the functional characteristics of the product. For example, Dior, its products are much more expensive than other brands, not due to the better quality, but the good reputation and the uniqueness of the brand because not everyone can afford this. And the last one, brand leverage. Brand leverage, often termed family branding, brand extensions or umbrella branding, refers to marketers capitalizing on brand equity by using an existing brand for a new product. For example, Starbucks, which is known for coffee, used to release a new genre of products, ice cream. So this is the end, and thank you for listening, and see you on our presentation next week.